recording has started. Without further ado, welcome to Pick One Photo, the new series that's about stories behind pictures. And the way this goes is I invite a guest, they pick one of their photos and bring it. They pick one of my photos, and then we go explore the stories behind the pictures. And here's our guest, Eimear King. Eimear is, okay, let me see. You're one of my co-hosts on The Future of Photography on our weekly podcast. You are the administrator of the South Tipperary Arts Centre. And what else am I
just
missing?
begun.
Am I missing anything?
Jack of all trades, master of none. Spent a good number of years as a picture framer. Failed art student. So many other things I've done.
We all have that in common.
Mother, chief mediator. Yeah, loads of good stuff.
Wonderful. And you are delighted to have around on our podcast and here on this series. Let's see. So I gave you the task of sending me a photo. You've done that. I have it here. I've also.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this photo. I love it. Okay. I told you already, I like the photo, so nothing to worry about. Then I gave you the task to pick one of the photos from this page. So to get that out of the way, let's just get both pictures out in the open. Which one did you choose of mine?
I choose number 17, Dome.
17. So it's funny. This is, I think, the fifth or the sixth recording I'm doing, and we have not had any collisions so far. So
okay.
Dome it is.
It was difficult.
Okay, let's go to your photo, which I'm putting on the screen right here. Was it difficult to choose that one?
It was and it wasn't. Technically, I don't think any of my pictures are terribly good ever, and obviously I just use my phone. So I'm not that I don't have a camera, but I'm terribly lazy and I just tend to use my phone. So it's easy, portable, easy to carry. So and it's become my thing. So this is one that I took the last time I was away. Well, not the last time I was away, but the last time I went on holiday. And it is a particularly significant time. And the story of the trip is a bit different. That holiday didn't go anyway how I expected it to go. There were meant to be. My dad fell ill before we went, and I've taken the kids away myself a couple of times, but I've always had the cushion of other adults, with me. And I tended to take my parents together away on holidays with them. And that year, it just ended up. My dad fell ill and they couldn't go, and it was really, I felt extremely, I don't know, almost, I know they're my children, but I felt a little bit alone and terribly responsible when I left. A lot
of insecurity
on that trip,
guess, right?
A lot. But we had an absolutely amazing week and loved that place. It's in the Highlands, just about maybe 10 miles outside of Inverness.
That would have been my next question. That would have been my next question. I will tell you in a minute what I feel when I see the photo. So it was in the Highlands, okay? In Ireland. Where in Ireland is that on the map?
No, it's in Scotland.
Oh, it's the Scottish Highlands. Sorry.
Yeah. So it was a holiday. Yeah. So it was around the summer solstice. So it was the end of June. Really, really bright. You're quite northerly there. So even your long days in the part of the world I'm in are even longer there. So, but the particular house that we had rented was on its own huge kind of forest area with the lake, and that the people we rented from owned. So you essentially had your own sort of national park on your doorstep.
Wow.
It was in the middle of nowhere, which is always my preferred place to be. And it was an amazing week. There were beautiful people, and that's one of the takeaway views from spending a week in that house. And we actually stayed quite close to the house, which
So is this right
Would be
outside the doorstep?
unusual, you know. Yeah. This was literally down. If you walked down the track that you can see there,
Oh, wow.
you would come to the house. So yeah, this was there on the way back down. But you can see this building in the distance here, the white one. That if you zoom in a little bit on it, you can see that
Yes, I
it
can.
looks like a very it's like a castle, and it's like as if it's been there forever. And we kind of thought, wow, well, you know, what's the history of this building or whatever. And Bob and Liz, who were the people in the house, it turned out that it was some crazy folly that some guy just built on a whim, and it had no history whatsoever. It was built in the 70s. And it looks like something out of a fairy tale, you know.
Wow.
Quite an eccentric character that he was, that owned some land around there. So that was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the most beautiful place. And you know, during these crazy times, I know you're not too fond about talking using the C word, but if I was to be anywhere in the world right now, I
crazy,
think
right?
C as in crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
But if I was to pick anywhere in the world that I'd go, or when all this is over and I can go anywhere, I was just about to rebook a holiday to this place when it all kicked off.
So
Yeah.
this is interesting because we live in a time of big insecurities right now, and you chose a picture where you had some insecurity in your life. So maybe that was one of the things going on in the back of your mind when you
Totally.
chose it.
But actually, I felt, even though I did, like, I kind of, I havered a lot about whether we should even go. And thinking back on it now, it was so the right thing to do. And we had an amazing time. And I had a car rented. And when I got to the car rental place, the guy was low on vehicles. So he ended up giving me like a better car, say, than the one I had
Oh,
ordered.
free
But
upgrade.
what I got was a hybrid automatic kind of estate. It was beautiful. And when I got into it, I wasn't able to drive it. And my son, I have a teenage son who was kind of almost teaching me how to drive the car. And I said to the man in the airport, I can't, I've never driven an automatic, I can't drive this. And he said, but if you can drive a car, you can drive an automatic. But it was so different, and the car was so silent because it was hybrid that it was oh my god. But by the end of the week, I didn't want to give that car back. I absolutely loved it. It's a fabulous car. So this photo evokes all these little moments from that week to me.
This is
um
this is
so
good. This
yeah.
is good. So pictures taken at important times in our lives tend to have that a lot of, I wouldn't say baggage because that has a negative connotation. I'd rather say a lot of just memories.
No, not
connected to
baggage,
them,
just
yeah.
yeah, narrative maybe. My daughter actually helped me to pick this because I had a couple in my mind, and I just couldn't make up my mind. So it was her final decision. So she chose that one really in the end.
Well done, well done.
Um,
So
yeah.
for me, this picture, I haven't been to the Scottish Highlands, but it reminds me of the general British Isles and in general the landscapes that you see in some of these places. And I've spent time in landscapes like this a lot. So for me, this evokes sounds. It evokes smells. It evokes just a general feeling, a feeling, an underlying feeling in life that, yeah, I have when I actually think of Ireland. That's why I kind of went to Ireland first when you showed me that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it. It's very
It is kind of it quite like Ireland, but on a grander scale. I would say, like, we have mountains, but they really have mountains, you know.
it also from the color scheme. It is a very reduced color scheme. You have the green, the brown of the path, and the blue of the sky and the mountains in the background. So it's all almost tone in tone, and that does something. And then what I like a lot about it is it has a painterly quality. It has this. It could be a painting. It could be a painting. There's lots of detail in the clouds, and even though that the phone just did it, but it did the right thing. The
Yeah,
blacks
yeah.
aren't fully crushed, so there's some detail even in the shadows. It's kind of Yeah, I would like this to be a painting. Absolutely.
I'll be honest with you now, yesterday, after I kind of made the decision that this was definitely going to be the one, I took it in, before I sent it to you, I brought it into Photoshop and I went, I have to make it better. I have to make that better.
Oh, you did work
And
on it. Okay.
I fiddled about with it some more. And at the end of it, I kind of went, no, it was okay the way it was. So you got
So
the
you went back to the
original
original?
first
Okay.
one.
That would have
I
been.
went back to it and yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have on my list, is any edits on that. And with edits, I also
Oh
mean,
yeah, there's definitely.
like real-time edits, like you, before you take the scene, do you sometimes take something out, a branch that's in the way, or some rubbish or something?
Not in this. Sometimes I might. Sometimes I might, but not in this. Not on this occasion. I just. I don't know. Is it from the framing? But I always try to get that right. You know, the framing part of any picture. So I probably would have taken several, and the only thing I may have done would be slightly straighten it in that way.
It doesn't feel wonky to me.
No, and there's not one straight line.
There
in
is
it
no
really,
straight horizon.
but
You don't have
it's-
a surface of water or anything that you could tie that to.
No,
So I would
there's
leave it
nothing
this
to
way.
really work. The gate is there, but even if you, when you straighten the gate, something else will go wonky. It's like an
Yeah,
old house. It's like
gates are
nothing is
wonky,
straight. Yeah, gates are wonky, and that was a particularly wonky gate, but lovely, so lovely. I obviously would have put that through Snapseed, which is my go-to app for everything, and I can't recall if anything else. I wouldn't probably think anything else. No, but I think when you push them the right way, they do just get that slightly painted look about them, and that is what covers a whole multitude for me. The limitations of the phone then are mitigated by.
So you said you
what you do to it.
try to get the framing right when you take the picture.
Mm.
The framing always means the being deliberate of what you include in the frame, where you put it in the frame, but it also means to be deliberate what you don't include in the frame. So what's going on the sides and behind the camera?
Okay, so this is like it was a bit of a valley there, so there's kind of a big sweep to the left of that picture. Lots of sheep actually in fields, and there was actually somebody building a house way over, like a wooden house way over in the distance that you could, they were very active. Far away sounds now, not interrupting us in any way. A huge amount, the one thing that kind of blighted it for me was a whole, you can see them there, pylons going off down through the valley, and you could see them just as far as your eye could see, these pylons just going on forever. Yeah. Carrying, obviously, needed electricity, but...
That's the one thing I was looking at, is going, those electrical lines, but then they are almost everywhere now, right?
And I know they're needed, but I mean, I suppose the argument is like, it costs so much to put them under the ground, but
sure.
If it were my choice, they'd be hidden and you wouldn't have to look at them. So yeah, they're quite ugly, aren't they? I mean, because you'd think somebody would have come up with a redesign by now.
Or Apple come up with something in your cameras that automatically takes them out.
Takes them out. Yeah. You could spend an awful long time now going through that pixel by pixel and trying to remove those. No, luckily there was not a lot to have to remove. So, and just I like the tree framing the path like that, and that was deliberate. And
so, what exactly triggered you to press that shutter button? Tell me.
I just walking back down along that hill. The first maybe night I landed, which I can't remember what day I took that, which may have been the moment, but just
a general feeling.
Look at this, like yeah, just a general wow, yeah.
Right. Do you title your photos?
It looks like a painting. It looked like a painting, before anything. It's like
Do you title your photos?
Stunning. I don't. I gave it a name now just for the purpose of because I had to kind of it's a Palnafoich is the name of the. It's just a little townsland. It's not even a village. It's
and that's probably
just a little
something
area.
I wouldn't be able to spell. Okay.
Yeah. So I gave it a title for the purpose of this, but generally I wouldn't. But this year I'm doing a 366 thing where I'm trying to put something up every day. So, and also trying to put some sort of caption with the image, just as even myself, you know, a reminder of that particular day, a point in time or whatever. So, and it's a good. It's a good way at the moment of kind of, you know, to make something every day. And then already I'm kind of looking back on ones that happened a couple of months ago, like January, before, you know, when we were all in ignorant bliss of what was coming down the tracks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah, just.
Okay,
but,
let's.
I had serious trouble to pick one of yours, and the thing that jumps out to me with all of them is the light is just absolutely fantastic. You're very good with the light.
Thank you. I love the light.
All the ones that particularly jumped out at me were ones that the lighting was just, I thought, quite magical. And this one, I just kept coming back to it all the time because it almost doesn't look real. You know, the diffusion, I presume the diffusion of the light through all those layers of ice is what's given it that amazing effect that makes it look like it
is very otherworldly. It is. This is in Iceland. It's a glacier cave under a glacier, and as a tourist, especially as a photographer, you can pay for someone to take you there, and then you get in there with a relatively small group, and you get some time to explore and to shoot. They ask you to not step in the snow heaps, so you leave it as pristine as possible for the next group.
Oh, lovely!
And this was the entrance to that glacier, and when we
so you're inside looking out, which is
this is inside looking out, and at that side the ice was also relatively thin, so the light coming through the ice is the daylight.
Gorgeous.
And I only realized this on the way out. On the way in, I didn't really see this, and then I wasn't sure how to frame it. And then I decided to include people because the sheer size of it doesn't get clear to anyone looking at the picture.
Without
you do not have a comparison
scale.
in there.
Yeah.
So I included the other photographers in the group in there to make sure we have something.
The little pop of red from the guy's jacket here as well. It's just a lovely contrast to the blue.
I kind of try to avoid these things because it's more of a distraction often, but in this case, there are only two colors
it sort of draws you
there,
because
right?
even the way they're placed draws your eye in, and then there's like a triangle and it draws your eye to the... Was that completely deliberate where you placed the people?
No, they were just where they were. It was just,
because I'm just thinking of like Renaissance paintings, and you know the way they would use to sort of draw the eye in a sort of in where they wanted you to go next.
Right.
So to me, this looks like you start at the bottom left, and your first figure and your second figure, it brings you over to the guy in the red, and then it's almost like it zigzags back out into the light, and it's fabulous.
So the only thing that I wish there was something outside, not just grey sky, but something to, I don't know, an airplane flying through or a bird or something. But then on the other hand, it might work. I didn't try.
No,
I didn't try to clone one in.
You could. There is an app you can get, a phone app that you can get that you can add in flocks of birds. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
Yeah, you can actually add in a little. There's different formations and everything. There's like maybe 3, 2. You can do fun stuff with them. Yeah.
I could probably throw some scientists by putting in some tropical birds in there.
A dodo.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous, really gorgeous. This bit on the left here looks like water. It's, it's so smooth.
Yeah, it is. It is unlike anything I've seen before. It is the glacier, and then it melts from the inside. But there's pretty much a little river running through it, and that melts some of the ice. And
Okay.
then I don't know what else makes it melt, other than in summer it gets warmer than zero, so there's some melting going on there. But this is entirely natural the way it is, and I was in there twice in 2 years, in 2 successive years, and it was different. It was the same glacier, but it was different because, of course, it had moved in the meantime, and the whole anatomy of it had changed. There are more people behind the camera, so I think we were like 10, 15 people in that group. So I remember shooting that handheld because I needed to be quick because other people were coming back too, and I didn't want an entire group of 15 people in there. I wanted to keep it. My preference would have been to only have like one person in there, maybe the guy on the left, just for scale. But then this is one of those pictures where when I came home and I looked at them, and I have like 5 or 6 of that moment, where I realized that no, it works better with 4 people in there.
Oh, it looks great. Looks great. You don't edit very much in post-production.
Oh,
Have I
you'd be
heard you say that?
surprised.
Am I
Oh,
right?
you'd be surprised. No, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
really?
I mean,
Did you do much to this?
edits in terms of contrast, brightness, color saturation. I slightly raised the saturation on the eyes because I wanted that blue to come out a bit better.
So good.
It is, when you're there, it's not quite as strong, but I kind of liked it because, again, it's like what it felt like when I was there. And then I really fought hard to get at least some detail out of the sky, because there wasn't much there, and I could tickle out some slight detail in the otherwise gray clouds, to have at least something there, that it wasn't just a white hole in the middle of the picture.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome now.
Yeah, I'm very happy
and it
with
was
that one.
difficult. It was difficult to choose because there was another one. Actually, all those icy ones really appealed to me.
But to me too.
And just even the barrenness of some of the landscapes, and it's gorgeous and difficult to work with snow whites, isn't it?
Very, and
Am I wrong to say that? It's not something we don't get much snow.
That's true. No, the whole whiteness and trying to retain some contrast in that can be tough, because you're always at this edge of almost overexposing it, but not quite. And then there is not much contrast there, so you have to start almost painting in some of the contrast back to get some differentiation between different layers. None of that in this picture, but some of the others. So for me, the edit, tickling out some of the details that I feel need to be there, working on the contrasts, fixing some things, as in like straightening horizon, that kind of stuff, is part of the whole thing for me. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great work.
Thank you for choosing that one. It's one of my favorites. So,
I figured loads of people will probably choose the Aurora ones because they're gorgeous, and I went, no, I'm not going to choose one of those, because they're bound to be really popular. I mean, that's
none of the Aurora
to,
ones so far. None of those. And I'm not really sure yet how I'm going to continue the series, because I want to record in batches and then release entire batches of episodes.
Okay, yeah.
And then I guess that in between the the batches, I will remove the pictures that were chosen and replace them with others.
Okay, yeah.
But then there's still a chance, a batch of 6 or 7 recordings, there's still a chance of a collision, and I'm leaving that in deliberately.
But even if you do collide, one person's perception of the picture, or one person's opinion and aspect of what they like about it is going to be so different from the next person. And maybe that's just an interesting
Yeah, I am
contrast there.
actually kind of looking forward to that first collision because it will definitely yield some interesting bits here. All right,
Yeah.
so Eimear, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for bringing such a beautiful picture.
You're
I
welcome.
really enjoyed this, and
Thank
yeah,
you for
well,
pushing me out of my comfort zone enough to
I
actually
hope
do it.
it didn't hurt too much.
It's been a struggle.
No, you done just fine. So thank
My
you so
my
much.
YouTube debut.
Yeah, there you go. And we'll talk again on the next recording of the future photography.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Uh,
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.